Yeah.
All right, here we go. The T-bone.
And chick brew.
Let's God bless. All these years, just get it right one time.
What do you want from me?
40 years they've been trying. You couldn't fire somebody if they were horrible, doing a terrible job for the veterans. And now you can say, you're fired.
Okay. No one listens to radio.
And now for a quick disclaimer. The T-Bone
And chick brew.
show is brought to you by nobody. We have no sponsors.
The show is still rated G.
For glorious, I decided to hit the record button today.
Yay!
I thought that would be a good idea since last week I did not. Yeah, I continue to feel like a total moron. But, and we had such a great conversation. I think that's the worst part, is all of our family and friends missed out on what a joyful conversation we had. Speaking of which, let me look at the numbers real quick, because we got a boost like you wouldn't believe. La 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 la, la 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 la. The ghost episode is still single digits, but for whatever reason, the New Year's Eve show and the Christmas show and the Death of Birthday Burns show, I mean, they all skyrocketed. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is T-Bone and Chick Brew on the internet. It's a radio show, but it's on the internet. It's available anywhere using your virtual assistants by saying, hello Siri, hello Google, hello Alexa, and then asking them to play the T-Bone and Chick Brew podcast, and then we show up. It could be in your car, it could be in your bathroom, it could be in your laundry room, wherever your electronic devices may be, you can hear us. Wherever your phone is, we're available on your phone at your leisure. It's T-Bone and Chick Brew on the internet.
On the internet.
Bum. And what you can expect in today's episode, we're probably going to be talking about food. We're definitely going to be talking about facts. Food, facts, headlines, and birthdays. I feel like we do something else on a regular basis. Why don't I remember what it is?
Shenanigans.
And general shenanigans. And television, which Chick Brew doesn't watch, but I consume. And I was kind of late getting in today because I'm watching this stupid show called 60 Days In. So I'm fascinated.
I watched some of that.
You watched it? I'm fascinated with two different shows right now. One called Alone, where they put you in isolation alone, and the only thing you really have to fear is the predation of wildlife, the bears, the wolves, the cougars, and then 60 Days In, where you're not alone, and the predacious creature you have to worry about is man. So it's two completely opposite things, and both of them I am 100% enthralled in. I love watching these shows. We just finished seasons 1 and 2, and we did it like a Stephen King book. We read book 3, and then we went back and watched 1 and 2. Now we're on season 4. There's 9 seasons of this TV show alone. I don't know how many versions of 60 Days In there exist, but 60 Days In is where they take normal people and they put them in county lockups and let them figure it out for 60 days. I have no desire to participate in either show. I will watch them, I will enjoy them, but I ain't getting eaten by a bear. I ain't going. The people on Alone, they go like 5, 6, 7 days without no food whatsoever. Maybe a sea snail or a limpet, but they go days without food. And then, on 60 Days In, you go and get your commissary, and somebody robs you of your commissary as soon as you get it back to your pod. These are both, both great. They're both great television shows. Competitions. Not a competition. They're shows. One's a competition, one isn't. Either way, I would not want to participate in either. Put me on The Bachelorette. Put me on The Bachelors. Put me on a whore off. I could do good on those. I got to get the wife to sign a contract saying she'd never watch. And then I just go and be the center of attention for like 20 whores trying to, be famous.
You should do The Circle. You would be great on The Circle.
I don't even know what The Circle is, but my experience with circles, I do not want to participate in The Circle.
Oh, I think that is actually that's the TV show for you. That's the one you should be on because you are in a very comfortable, cozy apartment by yourself, but there's amenities, there's a hot tub, there's yoga rooms, you have all these things, and you just interact with the other contestants via an online chat type thing.
Oh, 100%.
And there's challenges.
100%. Give me the show.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Yeah, you're there. You just like live in an apartment.
For how long?
Until you get kicked off.
And how do you get kicked off? All right, first of all, I am 100% interested in The Circle. Is it on Bravo?
It's on Netflix. You don't have to be. The best part about The Circle is people go in and they catfish and they're like not who their picture is at all. And there's people, it's not like you have to be young and hot to be on that show. You can pretend to be young and hot all you want.
I want like a seniors edition of Big Brother. I also want Big Brother to go back to the old days when they let everybody drink. Because you don't see anybody drinking and smoking anymore in Big Brother. And Big Brother's like way woke right now. But a senior old school edition of Big Brother, that would be good for me. Sit around and drink and smoke and tell off-color jokes and get voted out on the first night. That's what I would do on Big Brother.
Welcome
it was always
to the
my goal.
So we're getting voted off has a whole different scenario entirely.
That was always my goal on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Speaking of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I lost my friend recently, Corn Dog Millionaire, who was a contestant with Regis Philbin on the celebrity, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I told him this story too. I said, I always wanted to be on that show because, the $100, $200, $400 questions are just the dumbest. This is the third letter in the alphabet, and it's a multiple choice question, and the answers are in multiple choice, in A, B, C, or D. Is that your final answer? I always wanted to go on there with Regis Philbin because I'm a huge Regis Philbin fan. Lifetime New Yorker and Regis Philbin in the morning, that was what New York was. And I always wanted to go on there. I wanted to answer the first question and then immediately tap out. Like, no, I'm good. You mean you're good? Yes, Regis, I'm good. What do you mean you're good? I came to meet you. And I got to sit down with you, and I'm on television with you, and I got $100 to boot, so I'm good. You're crazy. That's what you are. You're crazy. Huh?
So I'm putting it on my resume. I did get paid. Assistant host to Regis Philbin.
The first guy to win $1 million on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I think his last name was Carpenter. Have you ever seen that? Clip? It's a great clip. He's the first person to win $1 million on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. He makes it all the way to the final question. He's never used a single lifeline. At the end, he says, I'd like to phone a friend. And Regis like, phone a friend? You haven't phoned a friend all day. Why do you want to phone a friend? And he calls his dad. And when his dad picks up the phone, he goes, hey, Dad, I just want to tell you, I just won $1 million on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Yeah, you're crazy. You are. You're crazy, these kids. Love Regis Philbin. Is he still alive?
Probably.
Yeah, who knows these days? Every time somebody dies, I'm like, that person's still alive? Except for recently, Bob Saget died. I knew Bob Saget was still alive. Funny guy. Such a funny guy. People have no idea how funny Bob Saget was unless they got a chance to see him in person. And let me tell you, Danny Tanner was the character he played on.
Danny Tanner was the character.
Yeah. No, that's him. Him and Tracy Morgan are two people. When you go to a comedy club and you think you're going to see the TV person, they are not the TV person you are going to see.
It's like there was two different humans living inside him.
No, he was acting to be a wonderful, nice man. And then there was the real Bob Saget, who was hilariously funny, genuinely thoughtful and caring, but
filthy.
As wildly inappropriate as you could possibly imagine, especially nowadays. If he wasn't famous, How did Bob Saget avoid cancel culture? That's funny. It's funny to think about because he touched on topics, but he avoided the third rail. I guess that's the way to do it. And if you don't know what the third rail is, ladies and gentlemen, the third rail is just New York City terminology. All right, you may have heard it once in your life. Sometimes they talk about it in politics, but the third rail is where all the electricity is kept in the New York City subway. You don't pee on it, you don't touch it. That thing will kill you. It's dangerous. And in politics,
maybe Danny Tanner was his buffer. Because if you say Bob Saget, you'd be like, I can't believe he said that. Like, not Danny Tanner. Not that guy. No,
Danny Tanner and Bob Saget. That shows he probably never won any awards for that TV show, Full House. He probably never won any awards, but he should have, because he is the farthest departure from the character. And say, well, he was actually acting. Good on him. Speaking of good on him, the Golden Globes just best female actress? Not.
I have no idea what you're talking about because that falls into the categories of things I don't watch.
Yeah, nobody watched the Golden Globes this year. The Golden Globes were so bad this year they couldn't get anyone to participate, but they still did it. It's just the strangest thing. I don't care if you don't come. I'm still going to have my party, and they did, and it was as bad as you could expect it to have been.
I feel like when I was in college, we had like Oscar watching parties, but I feel like in the last 15 years or so, my desire or care severely lacking.
I remember watching the Oscars like it was something that mattered years ago.
Right.
And I can tell you the moment I stopped, Denzel Washington wins an Oscar for Training Day, where he just plays a crooked cop,
Denzel Washington always plays the same person in every movie.
No, he does not. Denzel has great range, except for in the Book of Ezekiel. That was horrible. But most of the time, Denzel's a fantastic actor, and I like watching him. And I'm not saying that Training Day was bad. I'm just saying stereotypical casting, there was a lot of things. Okay, he plays a bad cop, and he happens to be black. I didn't dig it. And that was the same year Will Smith went up for Ali. So Denzel beats Will Smith when it definitely, without a doubt, should have been Will Smith's year. He should have won it for Ali. And not taking away from Denzel, Denzel should have won it previously when he played Malcolm X. At the end of both of those movies, I couldn't tell you who was the actor and who was the person. They were both fantastic portrayals, but because Hollywood, as crazy woke liberal as it is really quite racist, and they hadn't been acknowledging black actors for so many years. When they finally do it, they do it for kind of like a racist stereotypical role instead of the one he should have gotten, which was playing somebody who was wildly unpopular. I think Spike Lee did that, so that's like a double. That's two strikes against you. It's written by Spike Lee. It's got a black lead actor, and it's about a black man. That wasn't going to go. Of course, they weren't going to give that an award. But Training Day, they do. Screw you, Oscars.
Sound. I hate that sound.
I'm sorry. That was completely unintentional. I
know.
It is a great way of not swearing. But I'll use a different sound in the future.
Acceptable. Yeah, no, I don't.
SquarePants. Have you ever watched this show?
I do.
There is an episode of SpongeBob, and I don't watch a lot of SpongeBob. When my kids were younger, I would watch some episodes and I wouldn't think anything of it. But there was an episode where SpongeBob and Squidward were swearing. Not Squidward. Who's the Patrick? Patrick. Patrick and SpongeBob were swearing throughout the entire episode, and they replaced the swear words with dolphin that sound. It was to this day still one of the great cartoons throughout television history. have always been smart enough to include adult humor in them, so adults wouldn't mind so much watching them with their kids. If you don't believe me, go back and watch Rocky and Bullwinkle. There is so much hidden adult humor in there. Humor that no child would understand, but the sexual, it's there. It's definitely there.
I love that. It's one of my favorite things, like watching something that I liked as a kid and then going back and be like, oh my God, was I laughing? There's no way I knew what was going on. So I went back and I was like, oh, you know what was super cuddly? Care Bears. I'm going to go back and watch Care Bears. There's got to be something.
Nope.
No.
No.
So super. I was like, how did they? There's literally nothing in Care Bears.
And that's
Zero.
why no one loves Care Bears. But talk about Bugs Bunny. Oh. Everybody loves Bugs Bunny, and Bugs Bunny was constantly dressing up in drag. There was always sexual innuendo with Bugs Bunny.
It's true.
But Rocky and Bullwinkle. So, the Rocky and Bullwinkle show had Boris and Natasha included as part of the show. It had Mr. Peabody and Sherman as part. It was all encompassed in that show, and there was just a lot of opportunities for hilarity. The Simpsons have done a fantastic job with it, but I wouldn't call that a cartoon. It was, the Simpsons and the Flintstones were both primetime cartoons. They were cartoons, but they were not intended for children.
Right.
So the Flintstones, you go back to the early episodes and you see Fred and Barney out back smoking cigarettes. Hey, Barney.
Just for people who can't handle anything else at the end of the day.
But if you take that, 50 years in the future from the Flintstones to something like Rick and Morty now.
Right.
Rick and Morty is a really smart but funny and edgy cartoon. I really enjoy that one. Never did enjoy the Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I tried it, but if you're not high, you don't get any of that. And that is definitely a show to do when you are high.
That might have been what I was missing.
Well, if you go back and ask any of your friends who watched Aqua Teen Hunger Force, they were a stoner back then. They may be a recovered stoner now, but they were definitely a stoner back then. There was no way you watched that and not high, and you weren't high. There's no way. Let's spin the wheel of destiny to find out what we're going to talk about now. It's time to talk about cooking.
And tonight proved one thing. All.
What did you cook this week of interest to the audience, Chick Brew?
I don't think I cooked anything interesting. I did cook corn on the cob and some green beans and steak because we went to the drive-in. So while everyone else ate popcorn, we ate steak in the car.
What did you see at the drive-in?
Sing 2.
How was it?
It was great. I love those movies.
Okay.
Cartoons full of innuendo, it's there.
Yeah, Pixar's good at that. Like the Toy Stories. The Toy Stories had a lot of innuendo in them too. Pixar does a good job. But my children are grown, so it would be weird for me to now go watch one of those. Did you borrow somebody's kid to take him to go see the movie, or is just you two there in the car eating steak at a children's movie? Nothing weird about that at all.
Nope. Look, not feeding someone else's child. That's their problem. I love it. You're safe. You're safe.
Yeah.
Your car. They lock. The windows go up.
I think drive-ins are going to make a comeback.
You're quarantined.
I don't think people want to go to movie theaters anymore. I haven't wanted to go to a movie theater in a very, very long time.
I do.
But I also never went to a drive-in since I was a child when I was smuggled in.
Scream 5 just came out, and I am super bummed because it came out on the 14th. And I'm so mad. It's not at the movie theater, which I guess it shouldn't surprise me. But I've been looking forward to this for 10 years, like 10 years, and I'm ready.
I think the last movie I saw in a movie theater. No, that's not true because I was dating the wife, so I went to see whatever it is she wanted to watch, and I was with her, so I was happy. But the movies that we watched together were not memorable. I don't remember. I remember watching Team America there in Sigonella. That was a great movie. My buddy John Dongdara, he was there with us. He was laughing so hard. He was literally on the floor. When I was in the States prior to all of my overseas time, and I could go and do comedy clubs on the weekends, one of the great things is you get in town on a Thursday or a Friday night, and then you do your work. Usually the club feeds you or something like that, but even if they don't, they pay you a little extra. You do your work, and then you've got all of Friday off. People are working on Friday. You don't really do much. You might get, some exercise, or you might hang out in your room. And then you do your show on Friday, and then you got all of Saturday off before you have to do your shows. So usually when I was on the road, I would go on a Saturday, I'd go to see a movie. And I remember the last movie I saw, I was in Daytona, and it was Jackass. And it was like a Jackass 2. Yeah, I think it was Jackass 2. And the great thing about watching a movie early on a Saturday is there's nobody else in there. And I am in a great seat, and I am just dying, having so much fun. So Jackass 4 is right around the corner, or Jackass Forever, they call it. I think it's like Valentine's Day or something like that. So I'm looking forward to that. And as far as movie theater movies, that's definitely one you'd want to see in a movie theater pre-COVID. And now, I'll watch it whenever it comes out. Whenever I can see it, I'll watch it.
I guess.
Yeah, because as far as I know, we don't have any drive-ins here. But again, I think drive-ins have an opportunity to make a comeback. I don't know. Is that... So you got $50,000 to invest right now. Would you put money into a drive-in? Because really, what are you making your money on? The only thing you're really making your money on is admission. You're not really selling snacks and popcorn and stuff.
I think if you sold something better than like popcorn, I think the only reason is people are so tight into cities, and then to have a drive-in, you need a pretty good chunk of land outside of the city that got dark enough. Like light pollution is so bad.
And you couldn't do like IMAX outdoors unless it was a domed drive-in theater. That 400 people died today when their combined carbon monoxide killed them in a domed drive-in theater. The Jim Jones Theater.
Oh, no. I think like if you lived, I feel like it would be one of those things that would do well in like a
Texas.
Maybe
Florida. Jacksonville, Florida has a drive-in theater that got converted to a church. So I
guess I'm thinking more like Billings, Montana, like out that way, because even if it's cold, you can stay in your car.
There's a lot of country out there that's not New York. I mean, just leaving New York City, going into New York State, which is my first drive-in movie experience. Again, as a child, being smuggled in to watch a movie with my parents who were young and virile at the time and had no problem making out in front of a child. I have a lot of bad memories. I got a lot of bad memories about drive-in theaters.
Oh, you ruined their date night.
I didn't mean to ruin their date night. I mean, it wasn't like they hadn't left me home before. Leave me home again. In the 70s, children had to grow up early, and that meant babysitting yourself. We had very simple things. Don't answer the door. Don't answer the phone. Sit there and shut up. That was the rules of the 1970s. self-babysitting guide. And then when you're 5 and they bring home an infant that you're supposed to take care of, the rules are the same. Don't answer the door. Don't answer the phone. There was a way of answering the phone, though. We had a super secret code. If it was my parents calling, they would call, ring the phone once, and then hang up. And then they would call back, and that phone call I was allowed to pick up.
Allowed to pick up.
Yes. Yeah. I don't remember calling, actually. Like, hey, how are you, son? They never cared. It's just, it was a different time. Man, you leave a 5-year-old home now with an infant in his care, people will lose their mind.
I was just reading this or like looking at this article the other day that was like, are people just aging slower than they used to? Have you seen those where it's like this football player, it was 30 years old and they look like a great grandfather?
Times were tough.
Right?
You know, I feel like I'm doing a good job of living a non-filtered life with this. This is my face. There is no filter. I feel like I've done a good job of hydrating throughout the years and you know, relatively taking good care of my skin. I laugh a lot, so I'm getting some wrinkles. But when I was young, I remember looking at people who were currently my age, and they were 1 foot in the grave. The people who were 50 back when I was 10, they looked 100. And nowadays, man, we got some of the hottest old people on the planet. Christy Brinkley's what, 95 right now? And I take her. Huh?
Halle Berry's almost 60.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not going to look like that when I'm almost 60, and I don't look bad for my age. I do like when I'm like.
As I say these things out loud about other women, I think about my wife. I'm like, well, she's pretty hot too.
Your wife is gorgeous. Like scrolling through Facebook, and I kind of sometimes feel like a little awkward when I see someone that I went to high school with who I'm not friends with, but they're in the photo of someone I'm friends with. So I haven't seen this person in many, many years, and I don't quite recognize them. And I was like, oh, is that their mom? And I'm like, no, that's them. What are some of these people doing? Because we should not be aging at light speed. Some people are aging at light speed.
There are definitely people who have been rode hard. You know, I mean, maybe it's because I want to say this without it becoming like a brag, but maybe it's because we both kind of we both worked hard, but we both worked hard in a place that wasn't real hard. You know, when I was doing manual labor as a child, when a big slumlord, and I mean doing physical labor. If I would have continued in the physical labor life, hard physical labor, if I would have continued in that life, I definitely wouldn't look as youthful as I look now. I want to say, yeah, but I would look a lot older.
Yeah, I think if I had kept doing what I was doing before the Navy, I think I would. I think I would probably have already died.
Also, true story. I mean, you know, intense physical labor, people die from doing that. And then being a sloth is also an excuse to die. I worked. Don't get me wrong. Just because I'm not doing intense physical labor doesn't mean I didn't do work. But then I advanced in my career. I got to a position of seniority where I rode a desk for the rest of my career. And I didn't do intense physical labor for my life. But imagine, so, you know, my generation, and then just go the generation before that, where there were no tech jobs. Tech jobs didn't exist. There were no robot-assisted jobs, like you stand beside a robot, and when the robot screws up, you correct it. There was none of that. There was just hard, physical, laborious labor. That'll age you. I remember, who was it when I saw, because I remember my dad, and maybe it was like Daryl Hall from Hall & Oates. My dad and Daryl Hall were the same age, But Daryl Hall, he looked young. He looked good. And I remember saying, when I get to be that age, I want to look like Daryl Hall. I want to look like my dad. But, Daryl Hall made millions and millions of dollars by singing, not really laborious labor. Whereas my old man, he was grinding every day. Every day shuffling. I mean, he worked. He had a hard life.
Are you drinking flavored water?
The label says that it's black cherry seltzer, but I believe in recycling. No, I don't believe in recycling. Recycling is... I'm going to choose the word garbage. This is what I was going to say. So there are 3 R's to recycling. It's reduce, recycle, reuse. And reduce and reuse, I 100% believe in. But if I put this in the recycling bin, it's going to end up in India, and it's just going to be somebody else's garbage. There's no cost incentive to recycle plastic. I wish there were, but there isn't. So to do my part, to be the best human I can be, I reduce the amount of plastics that I use, and I reuse them as much as I can. I'm a good person.
You are a good... I have this handy thing that it's really just like a box cutter blade, but you spin your bottles in it and it turns it into string. And I use that to tie the branches and stuff for the trees to keep them bound up so they don't start to droop when all the oranges grow on it. It's pretty cool.
Okay. All right.
That way I can use plastic bottles.
You're reusing.
Yeah.
And that makes you a good person.
Well, it makes me feel like MacGyver.
So to understand this device correctly, you take a plastic bottle, you put it in this thing, and it turns it into string.
Yeah, you just twist it through, and it just cuts it into a really fine piece of plastic, and then you can use it like rope.
Yeah, that would be a convenient tool to have while living alone in the wilderness.
Since all their plastic is just in everywhere, but they're recycling.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of the cool rules of the game is you're allowed to use anything you find. So if you're living on a beach and there's garbage washing up on the beach, you can use anything you find on the beach, which is
on the stove and the house.
Nice of them to come up with these rules, right? But there are times when the rules are kind of punitive. These people live hand to mouth. They're really struggling to survive. And in the season that we're currently watching, season 4, they are prohibited from eating any of the sea life. Not sea life. Mussels. There's a collective word for those kind of things.
Shellfish?
Yeah, shellfish, basically. We'll just say shellfish. Because of a red tide, they can't eat any of the shellfish. So that's most of their diet. So this is an interesting season to watch. It's very fun. I enjoy the show. Speaking of food, I never got a chance to talk about mine.
Oh, go.
I got a new toy. I got a smokeless indoor grill. And it came in a couple of days ago, and I'm just super, super excited to use it. And, we got this big snowstorm that hit us recently, so we're locked in the house. And I got a nice piece of meat that had been marinating, and Mama wasn't here. So I was going to cook the meat to see if I failed, I fail alone. But if I succeed, I could share in my joy with her. I got a nice a London broil. I got a really nice London broil. I put it on my smokeless grill. So basically, when there's 6 feet of snow outside, you'd have to go outside, take the grill cover off, get the grill going, trudge back and forth in the snow. You got a grill inside the house. And I used it. And it works swimmingly.
So it's not like a George Foreman. It's like
It is not a George Foreman, and I don't know why we bought stock in George Foreman grills. We probably have 5 of them in the house. This is it's electric. It's got an electric heating element. It's got an electric suction fan that it pushes through water to get the smoke out. It's fun. It's a neat little gadget, and I like gadgets, and I like meat, so I grilled me up a London broil on this thing, and I enjoyed it quite thoroughly.
Send pictures.
Oh yeah, I should have thought of that. I didn't, but it's not like I can't. And that was my talk about food.
Book of everything?
Everything is everything. What is meant to be will be.
The book of everything. Are you prepared, Chick Brew? Are you prepared to learn something of interest today? Because
I've been waiting all week.
The book of everything has something of interest. We're going to go deep in the book. Deep in the book, way back here, page 277. Did you know women make 25% of the films in Iran compared to 4% in the United States? Boom! That just happened. That was a fact you just learned. Women in Iran make 25% of the films. Hold on 1 second. Let's just do something real quick. In the book of everything, let's go. Yeah. That fact might not be current. This was written in 2012, so some of these facts may be outdated. Let's go to the front of the book. That was in the back. Let's go to the front and see if we can find another interesting fact that might be current and true. This one I actually know to be true. The same man invented aspirin and heroin in the same year. Felix Hoffman invented heroin and aspirin in 1897. Do you know what his motivation was?
A headache.
His wife.
He made aspirin first and was like, something stronger.
Yeah. I can't tonight. I have a headache. Really? Watch me invent something. Okay, we're going to fix this headache problem. Then he gets rid of the headache, and she's still just not pleasant to be around, so he invents heroin. All in the same year. In the same year. I can't tonight. I have a headache.
Well, he took the aspirin and no longer had any aches and pains, so he could just keep going.
There was a headline this week that I said to myself, oh, please, let Chick Brew find this headline. Because it was very, very good. It was a lot of room for fodder. Let's see. In the actual news this week, once again, New York City has failed to embrace technology. In New York City, if you go into the subway at any given moment, a crazy person could push you on the tracks because New York City fails to embrace the fact that modern advanced societies, Tokyo, Seoul, even Beijing, have these barriers that prevent people from being pushed onto the tracks. Get it together, New York.
I always thought it was really mind-blowing having been on the subways in multiple countries in different states in America. And then just the sheer disgustingness and chaos that is New York City's subway system. How?
The mayor of New York has decided, as a budgetary idea, they are going to reduce the amount of government vehicles, city government vehicles, by 70% and make city employees ride the subway. At which
get a
point,
taste of their own medicine. Put them on.
Exactly. City workers are going to realize that the New York City subways are dangerous and And there is a way of fixing it. I'm just thinking of the major cities that I've been in the United States with a subway system. Atlanta, clean.
Clean, sparkling. Seattle. San Francisco.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Washington,
in case you don't
D.C.
know, if you ever find yourself on the monorail in Seattle, you don't need to ask, what stop do you get off? There's only one stop.
There's only one.
Yeah, I didn't know. As a New Yorker, I got on the monorail. I thought I was going to, have to, how do I know when to get off? You'll know, honey.
But even DC, it's not even that far away from New York. Like, you could just pop right down and see what they've got going on. So nice. You can't take pictures, eat, or drink on the subway in Washington, D.C., and maybe that's a good thing.
What are the rules? What can't you do?
You can't take photos on the platforms, and you can't eat or drink on the train.
Wow.
But it never smells like question mark food. You're never wondering, what is this I'm standing in? It's so clean. And if you do see a puddle, you know that it's probably not a beverage, so walk away.
It is Martin Luther King Day weekend. ER nurse dies after brain surgery following attack. Okay, that sounds like she died from the attack. Christy Brinkley, as we talked about, is 67 years old and is here in a picture in a bikini at 67, looking fantastic. I didn't think GILF was a thing, but apparently GILF is now a thing. I can't find that one headline. It was such a great headline.
Okay, let me give you this one.
Hold on one second. I am ready, but there was something here that caught my attention.
Yeah, Halle Berry's 55.
So, yeah, I mean, there's, that's not, it is not beyond the realm of possibility that Halle Berry is hot at her current age because, I mean, that's not really that advanced. 67, however, Christy Brinkley, that is a little bit more advanced. I think
Halle Berry is going to not be hot at 67. I think she's going to look just fine.
She's going to be all right.
She'll be all right. I, on the other hand.
You're going to be all right. Hero grandma saved Cracker Barrel co-worker before being shot to death.
Well, no.
Grandma
Portland
got murdered.
Mascots.
Grandma got murdered at a Cracker Barrel. Grandma who worked at a Cracker Barrel, hero shot in the chest, 59 years old, working at a Cracker Barrel near Houston, Texas. Of course it's Houston, Texas. And she worked at that Cracker Barrel for 34 years. Who in the heck is robbing Cracker Barrels?
Houston.
Yeah, right. All right. Enough. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of the show we call Headlines. In case you are joining us for the first time or just need a memory boost, Chick Brew reads me a headline that she has found somewhere in the internets, and I try to give you the rest of the story. It's time for Headlines.
Portland Pickles mascot's suggestive pick gets team in a real pickle.
I constantly criticize my partner in crime that the headlines she chooses are way too long. The headline, the sentence that is a headline, tells you everything you need to know. All right, let's go through this slowly. The Portland Pickles, that's the name of the team, right?
Yep.
They've got a mascot who's shaped like a pickle. And the rest of the headline is something about, surprisingly,
picture.
Suggestive picture
lands the team in a pickle.
Wow. Can we use the word pickle one more time in this headline?
Pickle.
The Portland Pickles have a pickle as a mascot and took a suggestive picture that's going to get them pickled. It doesn't take a genius. I'm Pickle Rick. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that a pickle is a phallic symbol. All right, so the Portland Pickles have a pickle as a mascot, and they're going to get in trouble because their pickle. The bottom line is a pickle is a phallic symbol. Okay, it's just that's what it is. It's not like you're in Buffalo and people are throwing actual dildos down onto the playing field. This team's mascot represents a Martian dildo. What do you expect? What was the suggestive picture? A couple of teammates on the side rubbing their hands up and down? Maybe a guy kissing it on top of the head? Yeah, you're not going to get any good press as the Portland Pickle. First of all, Portland, that's stupid. Pick a better team name, you idiots. Portland. Bunch of hippies. And that is my take on the Portland penis pickle. What do you got for me next?
Woman stuck at blind date's house after swift COVID lockdown.
No, she isn't. No, she is not. A woman may be stuck at a COVID blind date house, but she's leaving that house in a relationship, okay? Or she's leaving immediately. Let's see if I can imagine how this went down. I'm going on a blind date. I find this woman. She's relatively attractive. I put some hypnosis on her. I sneak her back into my household. And then the alarms, the klaxons, the bells go off. Bing, 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 bing.
Beedo.
Anybody in your house must remain in your house until the end of the pandemic. Bing, 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 bing. At that instant, it's either going to be a relationship or she's going to be on the street. I'm sorry, you're not. You were not in the house when the alarm sounded. You need to go. You need to go. You and me together, we were in the studio when this first started going down. When the pandemic first started, and there was an example that I never forget. It was a woman in China who was shopping. So the stores were open because she had a shopping bag with her, but she wasn't wearing a mask. And the Chinese, well, as homie would say, they don't play that. They beat this woman into submission because she wasn't wearing a mask. Which leads me to believe in America, you've got some time. Yeah, she stayed in that house voluntarily. Oh, could you imagine?
Well, I didn't know what country this happened in.
Oh,
so it might have been
twist.
Pretty swift.
Because Spain, the lockdown in Spain was pretty intense. I don't care. If I'm bringing you home and you're not putting out, you're not.
It's either marriage or murder. Those are your options.
It doesn't have to be marriage or murder, but it's definitely something more than stranger in my house for undetermined period of time.
Sometimes during the pandemic, I thought, God, what if I had to been quarantined with that person I dated in high school or a roommate from the Navy? And I think I very well could be in jail at this point.
It would be interesting to find out from the listeners. I don't think anybody would be willing to say. I think even if you were in the worst of circumstances and you got stuck with somebody during the pandemic, at least you aren't dead. You kind of just accept it is what it is. I was very fortunate. I got the COVID with my wife. I got the confinement with my wife. I couldn't imagine for a moment being stuck with anybody other than her throughout the pandemic because I'm not. T-Bone is an acquired personality. All right, let's just go with that. You either love me or you hate me, and a lot more people hate me than love me. I get it. I understand. I'll do anything for my friends, but becoming my friend is not the easy path. It's not an easy thing to be or do. So, all right, here's the question for you and for the listeners. Who is the worst person that you know that you could have been stuck with during the lockdown?
That I know.
Yes. Oh, that's going to be good.
There was this girl I was on tour with. And we were never roommates because I would have gone to jail. But when we would be in the van, she would sit in the first row of back seats behind the passenger seat, and she would talk on the phone. We would drive sometimes 16-hour drive days, and she would talk on the phone at length for hours to her friends, one at a time, about what she thought about the last episode of Celebrity Apprentice. Then, while she would have these conversations, she would open mouth chew her gum.
Some people don't know how close to death they have come.
I remember one time we were
that it would be something as, when you're testifying in front, when you're doing your plea arrangement with the court, and you tell the judge, well, she had 5 different conversations during a 16-hour drive, giving detailed points of Celebrity Apprentice episode. And the judge is like, well, I mean, you shouldn't have murdered her. Hold on, judge. Wait. She also open smacked gum the entire... Oh, you're free. Get her out of here. She's free. She's good to go.
Like, we would get back in the van, and if she was the last person in the van, people would be like, just go. Just leave her. Say you didn't notice. I'm like, how could we miss that? We were working in an event one time, and we had no.
Then why did we fire her?
We were working in an event, and this guy from South Africa, and he's so funny, just like very particular about everything. He was filling in for our production manager, and she's in the tent, and we're getting ready to open for the day. We're working a NASCAR event, and she is chewing that gum. And you can just see Richard's face as he's like, I thought you told them no gum while they're working. I was like, oh, I did. She doesn't listen. And he walks over and he goes, listen here. You can't chew gum while you're working. You're over here just chapping like a cow. And the rest of us are dying. Literally in tears, crying, trying to hold in my laughter. It was so good. She would do weird things like record conversations between other people. She I invited everyone over for dinner one night when we were in Charlotte to my apartment and made everyone dinner. And she's videoing my house. You need to leave.
Why didn't you fire her?
I didn't have the authority. I documented everything. I sent it up. But it turns out she was recording conversations between people and sending those conversations to our home office. She was like a little...
Nice. Why didn't you murder her?
So yeah, that person right there, that would be the one.
That is a great example. While you were answering the question, I'm going through my brain Rolodex, and I'm like, nope. I'm just example after example after example of people that I could not have been locked down. I say that, but I obviously could have. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, there are a whole bunch of people that I do not want to spend any time with. Close, intimate, unending time with. One of the reasons why I love my wife. My wife loves me. At least that's what she tells me. She tolerates me. I tolerate her. It ain't all roses. She's a wonderful lady, but there are things. There are things. It might not be open smacking gum, but there are things. And then, of course, with me, it's everything. But she puts up with me. I put up with her. We're a good team. There are so many people that prison would have been on the table if I would have been in lockdown with them. I
mean, I'm pretty good at ignoring things and people and
I can be tolerant.
everything out.
For a
Not even
while.
tolerant. I can literally just pretend that you don't exist and just go about my business. My mom said sometimes you just need to pretend like you live alone. And I think I have lived the majority of my life like that. If I think of one person where, like, literally 10 minutes into the quarantine, I would be in handcuffs, it would have been her for sure. Everyone else, I feel like maybe I'm sure there's other people. There are people I definitely don't want to even cross paths at the grocery store with. But her?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
Great example, great answer. As always, when we ask these questions and we discuss these topics, we're always interested to the listeners. Well, what have you got to share? Who is the person, the being on this planet that you could not have done any time with during the quarantine? And that leads us to our favorite part of the show. It's time for birthday boosts. Used to be a recurring segment we did called Birthday Burns. Birthday Burn. But because my partner was no good at burning people, and then I just kind of didn't care anymore either, we have decided to take it from negative to positive. We're going to talk up our friends that have had birthdays or having birthdays in the immediate or near future. We're going to say wonderful and great things about them. I'm really sad that Wendy Sprules missed out on everything I had to say about her last week. Her and Kelly Sherritt's were my big shout-outs last week, and I said great things about both of them, and they will forever be lost in Cyberland. Cyberland! Who is on your list this week, Chick Brew?
Brett Cummings.
I also know Brett Cummings, who
Good
is
guy.
sporting currently an amazing freedom face.
It is impressive. There's no lie there.
Well, I mean, when you've had to shave every day of your life for 30 years, it is one of those things. It's one of the benefits of leaving active duty. You can have a genuine, no kidding freedom face. Yeah, and I have explored all kinds of things with my freedom face. I really enjoy the fact that I have hair, and I can grow facial hair, so I do different things with it. I am still impressed with other people's ability to grow hair. Mine is not that amazing, but I'm okay with it, and I have fun with it. And then, when I don't care anymore, I just shave it off.
I'm waiting for the full handlebars.
My buddy Will C. he's been in a lot of different movies and TV shows, and in one of them, he's got the he's got the handlebars, and it really cool mustache. And one of the actors that's in the movie with him, Brad Pitt, I don't know who it was. They're very impressed with his. Anyway, you took Brett from me.
Stolen. He's mine.
I'm gonna go with my friend Ed.
Ed.
Yes, I'm just going to call him Ed because even though his wife, the lovely Joan, she outed him out on his birthday on the Facebooks. He's done a real good job of separating his personality, his personal identity from his Facebook, and this man taught me so much in ways that he will never know. He was the commanding officer of the EOD mobile unit there in Sigonella. I had the luxury of befriending him and learning from him, and he in just conversation taught me so many useful things that I carried with me throughout the rest of my career. Really love that man. And according to the Facebooks, he's only 5 years older than me. I don't even know how that's possible because he seems so much more, not older, but more seasoned, more educated. But yeah, he's celebrating his 57th birthday. So happy birthday, Ed. I'm sure the lovely wife is going to make your birthday as memorable as ever. Who else you got for me?
Sean Martin. Sean is awesome because he and I used to do the mail together in Bahrain, and he always, always, if I had a package, be like, hey, it's here. And he would run and get me next door. He's a good guy.
I'm the mail guys. This is a tough week because, if we don't capture these before the next episode, then they're going to fall off of the thing and we're not going to see them. I think a better way of doing that is we do the 2 and then we do a rundown.
Okay.
So I gave you Ed, and I think I'm going to go with a surprise pick here. I'm going to go with the lovely Jennifer Hodel. Jen was our executive assistant in Rhoda. She's married to Ken, a lovely family, wonderful people. We laughed a lot together. She's a sweetheart, and wisely, she doesn't have a year, as most women do. She doesn't have a year associated with her birthday. But as always, happy birthday, Jen Hodel. I miss you, and it was great throwing a shout out. That is a birthday boost. All right, who you got? You already did 2.
I already did 2. You want my
let's
quick
do
pick?
your honorable mentions. People with upcoming birthdays in something short.
Jessica Azirko. Known her since high school. She's awesome. Markina Wilkerson, also a great human being.
I know Markina.
Karen Owens. Everyone knows Markina. She's awesome. And, Kay Brown.
I got Kylie Gray. I got Travis Ybarra. I've got Mike Sisko, very funny comedian Mike Sisko. Delancey Snook, who I was stationed with in Argentina years and years and years ago. I got Sade Tapia. I got Ed Newmans, who I was with in Sicily. I got Brian Neal, who I was with in Sicily. And I got this last one. When I wrote the chapter of Douchebag for the Almanac of Everything That's Absolutely True 2004 edition, I used this man's name, or a version of this man's name, as the butt of the joke, if you will, because he has a great name that I manipulated just a little bit, and it worked very well for the story. But there came a time, and he's still in Gaeta, my home of homes, my telepathy home, not telepathy, telekinesis. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. Being able to appear in one place instantly, that home.
Teleport?
Yes, my teleportation home. Giani's still there. Silvano's still there. Emilio's still there. A lot of my friends are still there. And one day I got a notification that it was Silvano's birthday. So I reached out to Giani and I said, hey man, can you do something for Silvano? Because, just something nice. Send him a piece of cake or something. And he did. And I reunited with Giani, who I hadn't really talked to in years. And then I reread the story and I'm like, oh man, I make him out to be a bad guy and I don't want to do that. So I have since changed the story because he's a great person and I didn't want him to feel that way. But Gianni Parente, it is his birthday and he's only a year older than me. That's crazy. I knew him when I was so much younger. Oh my goodness. I apologize. That is my wife. She is sending me messages. And they are messages that must be seen. So let me go over here while we're getting the bling-a-bling, bling-a-bling, bling-a-bling. You are messing up the recording. Love you.
Guarantee there's going to be a, sorry.
yeah. Definitely. You just wait for it. It's coming. All right, so thank you, everybody, for tuning in to T-Bone and Chick Brew on the internet. I think that's the new name of the show.
I think so, too.
Yeah, T-Bone and Chick Brew on the internet. You know anybody who's good at graphics?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Let's see if we can farm this out. I'd be willing to spend a little bit of money, but, all the graphics in the past were all done by me, and they're not great graphics. So anybody who wants to do some graphics for us, let us know if you can find someone. Let's get some T-Bone and Chick Brew graphics. And with that, I remind you, as I always do, if you were a great person today, be an even better person tomorrow.
And don't forget that you are loved.
Bye.
Bye.
Lunch bee, everybody.
Thank you for listening to T-Bone and Chick Brew. If you enjoyed that show, you should check out the Darrell McClain Show, independent media that won't reinforce tribalism. We have one planet and nobody's leaving, so let's reason together. You can find the Darrell McClain Show at the same place you actually listen to this show. Give it a shot.